Hi, this is Ricky again. Um, this is my first audiobook review, and I'm going to do Bone Music by Christopher Rice. And real quick, before I get into that, I just wanted to say something about the different way that you can get access to audiobooks. I personally go through Audible. I like how they operate, even though it's more expensive, but you don't have to spend any money at all to listen to audiobooks. Pretty much every single library has an app you can download that you can just rent the audiobooks through the library. You download them to your phone. Most of the time, you've got like 14 days to listen to them, and then it goes back to the library. So you don't have to spend money. But if you're a big book person like I am, and you like listening to long series or you like collecting certain types of books, it's really great because the thing is that if you get a book that you don't like from Audible, you can just call them up and say, "Hey, I don't like this one," or "I just can't get into it," and no questions asked. They'll just give you your credit back, and you can get a different book. So it's easy that way. I've collected literally hundreds of audiobooks that I love using that method, and I like that because I like to re-listen to my series because I listen to audiobooks every day. Anyway, back to Bone Music. Let me just start by saying my mom picked this book out because of Anne Rice and her love for Anne Rice. And, she's part of my Audible stuff too. And uh, so she picked this out, and I was like, okay, well, we've got to listen to it because Christopher Rice is Anne Rice's son. So I was curious how much of his mother's um, talent and charisma and passion would translate down to his work and what kind of work he would do. So she chose this book, and I chose to listen to it. Anyway, it's called Bone Music. I believe it's the start of a series. It's set up in a way that it can either end or it can keep going. So it's a it's a really interesting book. I will tell you that he did an excellent job in the beginning. He started out with saying, well, the main character anyway, that is, "I didn't plan to kill my mother," which is just an instant catcher. You read that and you're like, wow. That wasn't a lame beginning at all. And it's about a girl who was abducted when she was a child. Well, she wasn't exactly abducted. She was kind of a byproduct of an abduction. Her parents were killed by these serial killers. And rather than killing her, the serial killers took her and raised her as their own. Well, they had her for 7 years of her life. So then after that, I'm not going to say too much about it because I don't want to give the book away, but basically she ended up in adoption, or she ended up actually with her father and grew up, yada yada yada. Now she's an adult. I will tell you that in this particular story, they give you an awful lot of background information right off the bat. Also, the narrator was very good at doing a female voice. Um, just looking real quick for the name of the narrator because she was a new one to me. She wasn't one that I, listened to all the time. But she did a pretty good job at doing a female voice. I don't think she did that great at doing the male voices. She just didn't have the range that some people do, but she did pretty good. I really didn't feel like the character development was that awesome in this book, but the story was really interesting. And I think that is just because he gave you so much information right off the bat that it didn't give you any time to build rapport with the character as the character developed. So, and that's just kind of a big thing to me. Some people don't care about that, or it doesn't really matter. Um, but for me, it's kind of a thing. But anyway, the story was really interesting. So this girl grows up to be an adult, and also I would like to add that and some people do this in their books and some people don't. Some people are very specific about identities and what people look like. They describe them. Christopher chose not to do that. And sometimes that's a bonus because then people can imagine the characters any way they want them to be. But he never really gave a physical description, which I just thought was interesting and something to notice. But also, so this girl ends up in therapy and she ends up taking this experimental drug which makes her like Superman, like supercharged, like, or Superwoman rather. And she ends up kind of getting together with a cop. And anyway, so the serial killer victim ends up hunting serial killers, which is super cool and a really neat concept. So I thought that was pretty good, and it had a very decent ending. Um, Honestly, it wasn't like one of my all-time favorite books by any means, but it was a good book and it was worth listening to. And it's worth keeping to see, maybe if he does continue this on as a series, he'll develop his characters a little better, or maybe they will become richer throughout the series. I don't know. But definitely worth listening to. And also, uh I just have to check real quick here. Realize this is terrible, but I'd feel bad if I didn't mention the narrator a little bit more because she was very good. Um, oh, and they did a really good job producing it as far as there weren't any extra long pauses, there weren't any doubled up sentences. Those things always make me absolutely crazy. So it was really cool to see that they didn't do that. Uh, Lauren Ezzo. Lauren Ezzo was the narrator. So good job, Lauren. Again, so this is going to be my first review, and if you guys have any questions or comments, I'll attach a link to this where you can get the book from Audible, and also where you, if you would rather just read it, it's definitely worth reading, where you can get the physical book through Amazon. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and email me, Ricky R. Audio Reviews at gmail.com. And as I progress, I'll get a little better at this. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.